Hey, what is up, everybody? I am here to give you another WWE Championship Read Aloud series for the WWE Championship. A look back at the rich history of the WWE Championship written by Kevin Sullivan. And it's like 7 o'clock in the morning, and I have a stuffy nose, so if I don't sound right, that's why. And if I just kind of breeze through this, that's why. So let me do the plugs before I start the Read Aloud series. I have a few plugs to do. Up here, you can check out the playlist for this Read Aloud series for the WWE Championship because I don't read the whole chapter. Like, I don't read the whole book at once. I just break it up into separate videos and then by chapter, and then I read it. And I upload it. It's just easier to do it that way than sitting down and reading the whole book and boring everybody. So, and boring myself. So, it's easier to do it that way. Um, Down below, you can check out the Massasoit Wrestling Corner. Um, it's hosted by me, James the Heat Man Hebert, and Ori Dre, and we have a lot of fun doing it. And we uploaded an episode yesterday, and it's a good episode. It's not like one of our best episodes, but we stay on topic this time. We usually don't stay on topic, so it's a good one. We were rushed, so yeah. But it's down below, the Massasoit Wrestling Corner playlist, so check that out. You can also click down below to subscribe to my channel um, because for future content besides Massasoit Wrestling Corner and WWE Championship Read Aloud. It's a lot of fun. And if you want to check out my other two YouTube channels, you can check out Owen the Talkinator over here where I post my non-wrestling videos, and CM Brothers over here where I post wrestling and non-wrestling videos. It's a lot of fun. And then my friend James the He-Man Hebert has two YouTube channels, and one is called James Hebert. He makes custom Titantrons of professional wrestlers and vocal voiceovers. It's a good YouTube channel. I think it's awesome. Um, and it's going to be somewhere around here. And you can also check out his Weymouth Youth Wrestling YouTube channel. I just watched a video on that channel. It's where he has his own professional wrestling company using WWE 2K14, the video game, and he makes like his own wrestling company off of there. It's a lot of fun. Um, and he's holding a 32-man tournament to crown the very first ever WIW world champion, and yeah, and I'm one of those people in that tournament. It's me, him, me and him are one of those people in that tournament, and I'm gonna win the whole thing and become the very first ever WIW champion. And then my other friend, who also does the Massasoit Wrestling Corner with me, he's like the one of the special guests on that show, has his own YouTube channel, and he has his first video coming up probably pretty soon. Um, and it's called John Tuddy. It's somewhere around here. He's going to be uploading a video pretty soon, so make sure to check that out. And now that I've done all the plugs, let me do the Read Aloud series. I don't know what chapter I'm on, so I have to check it out. Okay, I'm on chapter 18. Let me get there. Okay, chapter 18. Chapter 18 is called Dark Daze. I don't know what that means yet because I haven't read it. I haven't read this. I've read this book before, but I haven't read this book in a while, so I don't know what that means yet. So let's see what happened. And if you want to know what happened in the last chapter, like I said, you have to click on the playlist up there because I'm not going to repeat myself. So let's continue. On the morning of February 13th, 1997, members of the WWE front office woke up satisfied with the thought of Shawn Michaels being their top star. At the time, HBK was only only 1 month into his reign, but it was imagined that he would bring some much needed stability back to the title, something rival WCW was very much experiencing at the time with Hollywood Hulk Hogan, who was in the middle of a 1 year reign. But when they walked into the arena later that day, those once pleased officials were blindsided with the terrible news. HBK would never wrestle again, according to his doctors in San Antonio, believing They were left they were left with no other choice. WWE and Shawn Michaels agreed that it would be best if he surrendered the title. And that must have stunk because they lost one of their top stars at a bad time when WCW was becoming really big. Um, After Hollywood, Hulk Hogan had held the title and they were doing Hulk Hogan's big heel turn, so that must have sucked. So let's see what happened. The move left WWE 3 days away from a pay per view, scrambling for a solution to fill the sudden vacancy. The, they ultimately decided to award the title to the winner of a Four Corners elimination match at In Your House uh, Final Four. Um, I think a Four Corners elimination match. It's like a Fatal 4 match, except you have to tag yourself in and out of the match. It's really weird. It's like a one-on-one match, but it's also a tag team match. But it's an every man for himself match. Like you can tag anybody in, and then it just turns into a one-on-one match. Uh, I've seen it before. It's pretty fun. Something different. By night's end, Bret Hart outlasted Stone Cold Steve Austin, Vader, and Undertaker to claim his fourth WWE Championship. But the victory did little to restore stability to the title. Just one night later, Psycho Sid capitalized on some outside interference from Steve Austin to dethrone the Hitman. They were just gonna. If I'm gonna say this, if they were just gonna give Psycho Sid the title a night later, why did not just have Psycho Sid win the championship at the pay per view? Um, with the loss, Hart became the owner of one of the shortest reigns in WWE Championship history. At the time, only Andre the Giant and Yokozuna claimed less lengthy reigns. I almost don't even count it, says Hart looking back. It was my fourth reign. That's all it was, just a number. Which I can understand because it wasn't really that long of a reign. While the reign itself certainly failed to live up to his lofty standards, the Hitman can look back and appreciate how the loss helped refresh his character. In the weeks following the defeat, Hart began to complain about being cheated out of the WWE Championship. For years, he had carried himself as the proud competitor, win or lose, but since the loss to Psycho Sid, his objections had become mildly annoying. Finally, no wait, fans slowly began to turn on him. He wasn't quite an official villain yet, but he was clearly moving in the direction. Uh, for me to lose the title the way that I did was really powerful, claims Brett. There was a lot of drama in that match against Sid when they screwed me out of the title that night. It did a lot for me. I realized that then that I didn't need the title. It was just what I needed to rejuvenate my character at the time. Because at the time, Bret Hart was starting to become stale. Um, and to be honest with you, after that moment, Bret Hart cut one of his best promos after he lost a steel cage match to Psycho Sid. Um, and Bret Hart turned heel after that. And I think the fans kind of turned on him because they were sick of it. I think that was a great idea to turn Bret Hart heel. Um, it really rejuvenated his career. So let's continue. Over the next several weeks, we vitalized Bret Hart, blurred the lines between villain and hero. His rival Stone Cold Steve Austin did the same. Um, they squared off at WrestleMania 13, where their roles were officially clarified. Longtime fan favorite Bret Hart completely lost the support of his followers when he brutally bloodied Austin to the point of unconsciousness, then attacked him even more after the match. Stone Cold won over his former detractors when he refused to quit despite the great loss of blood. The match marked one of the rare moments where the fans switched their um, allegiances over the course of the contest for not just one but both superstars. I read this then one, so pretty much what they're saying is Stone Cold Stone Cold Steve Austin went into this match a heel, and Bret Hart went into this match a face. But then the roles got switched, because Bret Hart ended up turning heel and it was a great match overall. But what happened? But it's not just a great match because of the in-ring components of it. It's good for more than that, because then afterwards this made Bret Hart, and this officially just turned Bret Hart heel and then turned Stone Cold face. And this also created Stone Cold Steve Austin into one of the biggest stars. Eventually, probably when we get further to this book, you're gonna find out what I mean. And this really established Bret Hart as a heel, and this really made Stone Cold the badass Stone Cold because he refused to quit. So that's why it's a good match. That's pretty much what they're trying to say there. So let's continue. Psycho Sid was inked to defend his newly won WWE Championship against Undertaker in a no disqualification match at WrestleMania 13. Before this could happen, though, both Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart did all they could to redirect the focus on themselves. 6 days. Well, originally the plan was to do the rematch that they did from the Iron Man match between Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania 13, but then it never happened. They always wanted to do a rematch, but it never happened. Well, it did happen, actually. I shouldn't say that, but they wanted it at WrestleMania. 6 days prior to WrestleMania, HBK returned from his controversial injury to announce he had found his smile. And you'll never guess where it was, he joked. It was back in San Antonio, Texas, where I left it. But now I decided to bring it with me wherever I go. He then went on to proclaim how miffed he was that he wasn't invited to WrestleMania. So he invited himself to be part of the commentating team for the WWE Championship match. Bret Hart, WWE's newest villain, also tried his hand at stealing the spotlight. Just moments before the start of the main event, the Hitman purposefully walked to the ring and grabbed a microphone. First of all, you phony little faker, he said, staring at HBK. Why don't you take your little pussyfoot injury and go back and find your smile? But whatever you do, stay out of this match. He then complained about being screwed out of his championship before calling Sid a fraud. That had actually happened. The WWE champion had heard enough, and the WWE championship had heard enough. He powerbombed Bret Hart and sent him back to the locker room. But that was not the last anybody would see of the Hitman. 20 minutes later, Hart ran to the ring yet again in an attempt to spoil a physically classic between two of WWE's best big men. His attendance at ringside distracted Sid long enough for Undertaker to scoop the champ up and drop him on his head via the Tombstone Piledriver. The impact of the move gave the dead man more than enough time to dramatically cross Sid's arms across his chest and cover him for the win. For the first time since briefly holding the title in 1991, the Phenom was back on top as WWE champion again. At the time, the 5+ years in... Hold on. Hold on. Let me read that. So, at the time, the 5+ years in between his reigns marked the second longest stretch a champ had to wait before regaining the title. That's actually pretty long. That's a long time to not hold the title. I'm surprised he waited, but I guess he was fine with it. And I guess he realized that there were other people that needed to be made into stars. But here's a picture of Undertaker and Psycho Sid having a face-off at the WrestleMania match. And that was pretty cool to see Undertaker on top again, because you hadn't seen Undertaker hold the championship since then. And he was like that different type of champion. He wasn't like that wrestling type. He was that dark, mysterious type of champion. So let's continue. Unlike Undertaker's first WWE title victory over Hulk Hogan in 1991, Paul Bearer was not in the dead man's corner at WrestleMania 13 when he toppled Sid. Several months earlier, Bearer shocked the wrestling world when he turned on Undertaker in favor of allying with the deranged Mankind. And now that the Phenom was occupied in WWE's top spot, Bearer became obsessed with doing all he could to ruin the life of his former protege, including revealing an unthinkable secret. So this is Paul Bearer. So Paul Bearer tells his secret in an interview with Vince McMahon. I can't do his impression, but I'll just read it in my voice. Maybe I could try. We're going to have to go back a few years, Mr. McMahon. Yeah, I can't do it. Especially with my stuffy nose. We're going to have to go back a few years, Mr. McMahon. After 20 years to be exact. We're talking about a little funeral home sitting up on a hill, beautiful oak trees all around, and a wonderful, wonderful family owned funeral home. The family lived upstairs. The father was a um, mortar. Shit, I have no idea how to read. Mortishin. Morty. Mortikin. I have no idea how to read that. Who ran the funeral home. The mother was a secretary, the receptionist, but there were two little kids there. One kid was a little red-headed punk, and then there was a second kid, a sweet little kid named Kane. So you can see where I'm going with this if you're a wrestling fan. I was the apprentice at the funeral home. I worked under the red-headed punk's father, who by now you probably know as Undertaker. Undertaker's father was a Mordican of excellence. He taught me everything I know. He taught me the correct way to prepare a body for burial, how to how to do the makeup, how to deal with the families. He taught me from A to Z. But while I was working at that funeral home, I saw a lot of things going on that shouldn't have been. This little punk, red-headed punk, there was something there was something funny about them. Something funny about him. He had looked in his eye. He had a look in his eye. Sorry. The look of the devil. He was the devil's seed, if you know what I mean. What was so sad about the whole situation is that poor little Kane, the little brother, followed Undertaker around everywhere he went. Undertaker was little Kane's hero. Anything Undertaker did was fine. Well, it went on for about 2 years. My um apprenticeship, I think that says. Um, I was going to college at night, taking courses in monetary science at the time. And before I continue, here's a picture of Undertaker um, doing his taunt with the championship. Undertaker holding the WWF championship. So let me continue. Undertaker and Kane would run around the funeral home like wild men. They had free reign of the property. They'd sneak out behind the garage. I saw what they were doing. Their mama and daddy didn't see what they were doing, but I saw what they were doing. I saw them taking chemicals out of the embalming room of the funeral home. I saw them sneaking behind the garage, smoking cigarettes when they were when they were little kids. But one particular afternoon, I was leaving to go to school. As I packed my car out of the funeral home, I looked behind, and who do I see? That red-headed devil seed Undertaker with his little brother. Something was funny. Something didn't seem right. But I went ahead and backed out of the driveway and went to school. I came back from school about 10 o'clock that night, and what do I see? I see fire trucks, I see ambulances, I see steam and smoke, and I see the funeral home in ashes. Someone burned down the funeral home. Inside the funeral home was this lovely family that took care of me. I looked over to the bushes. Who do I see in the bushes? Undertaker. Undertaker, you burnt the funeral home to the ground. And along with the funeral home, you killed your parents. You killed your family, Undertaker. I know it. I've had this secret on my inside all my life. 20 years. You killed them, Undertaker. You are a murderer. You are a murderer, Undertaker. I remember watching that too online, and it was great. It was a great storyline, um, and yeah, they pretty much accused Undertaker of being a murderer. So let's continue and see what happens. WWE fans refused to give any um, credence to Bear's chilling story, but then Undertaker awed the wrestling world when he revealed that the life alternate event did happen. In fact, happen, but Bear's version, according to the Phenom, was filled with only half truths. So that's Paul Bear's version. They just think Undertaker. They're just saying that Undertaker just purposely decided to light um, the funeral home on fire and kill his family. But let's. So now this is Undertaker's version of the story. It's true. Yes, it is true. My mother, my father, and my little brother burned to death in the family funeral home. But I think it's important that we have all the facts straight. Yes, Kane and I were playing with matches that day, and we were punished when my father found us. More me more so than Kane. I was the oldest. I should have known better. My father explained to us what we were doing and how those liquids were flammable. After he punished me, he sent me on my way to do my daily chores, and I was leaving the funeral home. I looked back and I saw Kane leaving out of one of the wheel doors of the embalming room, and I saw that he had those liquids in his hand. It never occurred to me what he was going to do. I thought nothing of it, and I live with that fact every day of my life. Kane was my responsibility. He was my little brother, and I was and no wait. As I returned to the funeral home from doing my chores, I could hear the sirens. I could see the smoke filling the sky. Without knowing, I knew, I knew what had happened, and I ran up, and I ran as fast as I could. When I got to the funeral home, it was engulfed in flames. I never slowed down for 1 second. I ran for the front door. That's when they grabbed me. They wouldn't let me go in. The firefighters, they held me back, and as I stood there restrained, I watched the funeral home. And inside that funeral home was my mother, my father, and little Kane. I watched that funeral home burn to the ground, and yes, Paul, it's true. I wasn't at the funeral home, but you didn't care to explain to the people why that was. The 2 nights before, during the middle of the night, you dragged me to the neighborhood funeral home so that no, the neighborhood funeral home so that I could see my family until this very day. The image of my mother lying on that table. And as you pulled that sheet back, and I looked at the burnt and charred body of the most wonderful woman that had ever walked on this earth lying there. The air escaped from my lungs. I couldn't breathe. I thought I was going to be sick, but you insisted that this little, this small boy in the middle of the night go and look at the charred remains of what 2 days earlier was his family. It was a day that changed me forever. For me to be able to deal with the death of my family, I had to look at death. I had to understand that without death, there cannot be life. So I had taken it upon myself to walk a path where no one else chooses to. I draw, I draw strength from the spirit of the dead, and the spirit of my mother, my father, and of my little brother will strike down Paul Bear. Will strike you down. Before I continue, here's a picture of Bret Hart putting Undertaker in the sharpshooter. And there's Shawn Michaels referee in the as like a referee. You're gonna see what I mean in a second. So I kind of like Undertaker's version. I think his version sounds more true. To be honest with you, this thing I have to say is it does sound a little bit more true, and obviously his story probably is true, and it actually kind of gives you like an explanation of the Undertaker's character, of why he is the dead man, because he gets um, the power through death, the death of his parents, and all that stuff, and he understands that without death there can't be life, because there's death after life. You have to die to when people everybody he realized that everybody dies eventually. So I actually do like the way they tried to explain the Undertaker's character after reading that version. So let's continue. Both versions of the story were filled with gruesome um, dep debu dep debutions depictions, I think, of death. Um, However, while Undertaker's um, fatalities totaled three, Bale's only reached to the mother and father. According to Bale, Undertaker's brother was still alive. He was charred and scarred, but still very much breathing. Despite being armed with the astonishing news that his little brother may in fact be alive after so many years, Undertaker somehow shoved his emotions and entered into battle with Hart at SummerSlam. After spending the past several months fending off such physical behemoths as Sid, Vader, and Mankind, the dead man knew this match would be different. Um, I think in a lot of ways, Undertaker wanted to work with somebody like me, reflects Bret Hart. He was always working with Giant Gonzalez and those types of guys at the time. By working with me, he was able to show everybody that he could actually wrestle. Throughout the 1990s, Undertaker and myself were the two biggest stars in the company, and to finally see us wrestle at SummerSlam was a dream match for a lot of fans. Um, Following a errant chair shot by special guest referee Shawn Michaels, Hart dropped on top of Undertaker for the pin. HBK looked on in disbelief for the count. For a brief moment before realizing he had to do the right thing and count the Phenom's shoulders to the mat. Otherwise, he would no longer be allowed to wrestle in the United States as per the pre-match stipulation. In the end, Michaels did do the right thing, and as a result, Undertaker's nearly 5-month reign came to an end. And there's Bret Hart holding the championship over his head after that happened. We left it all out in the. We left it all. No, wait, we left it all out on the field that night. After the match, I went back to the dressing room, and my son Blade was helping me take off my gear. I was so sore and so beaten that I could barely undo the laces of my boots. I felt like I was run over by a train. You know, you gave everything you had in a match. That was one of those times. Um, so yeah, let me continue. And they say that this match even launched off the Attitude Era too. Um, which I can understand. I don't think it was probably this match. I think if I had to pick a match that probably launched off the Attitude Era, it would be Bret Hart versus Stone Cold Steve Austin at WrestleMania 32. That's kind of was I would say that was kind of the starting of the Attitude Era. And that's why that match is so important. After SummerSlam, Undertaker sought retribution against Shawn Michaels in the first ever Hell in a Cell match at Bad Blood. During the contest, Paul Bear's mind games finally came to a head when a disfigured monster emerged from the locker room. Because Paul Bear was continuously telling Undertaker that Kane was alive. And yeah, Paul Bear would continuously say that, and Undertaker just didn't. Everyone just thought Paul Bear was crazy. But who was this disfigured monster? It was Kane. A shocked Undertaker. It was Kane. That's gotta be Kane. A shocked Undertaker peered into the face of his little brother before the Phenom could fully grasp the enormity of what was happening. Kane unleashed 20 years of pent-up rage and frustration on his big brother, even hitting him with his own signature tombstone piledriver. Over the next 13 years, the brothers went on to experience one of history's rockiest relationships, complete with fiery rivalries and unlike reunions, resulted in WWE and WCW Tag Team Championship reigns. Um, so yeah, Undertaker and Kane went on to want to have. I think that's probably one my favorite family versus family feud, like brother versus brother feud. Um, but meanwhile, well, it just says meanwhile. Meanwhile, Hart was revealing in his latest WWE Championship victory. I remember thinking then, and I still do today, that the last title win against Undertaker was as good as it ever got with me. Of course, you can never top the first one. Winning the title the first time gave me permission to say, I am the best there is, the best there was, the best there ever will be. But the fifth one was such a better match, the great one I always wanted to have. It's one of my favorite matches of all time. And then that's the end of the chapter. Uh, and the next chapter is actually going to get pretty exciting. But yeah, Bret Hart. So yeah, that was a good chapter. I liked it. It gave us some enlightenment of the Undertaker Kane feud, and obviously that's like that's probably one of my favorite feuds is Undertaker versus Kane. I just really enjoy that feud. Um, and they've had some great matches like those times, even in 2010. The recent ones, I do like the recent ones. I think the matches from the past are better, but these ones are pretty good too. Um, and I liked it. It was just good. And I liked getting to hear the stuff about Bret Hart's heel turn. That was cool. And like I said, that match with Stone Cold Steve Austin and Bret Hart isn't just a good match just because of in-ring components. This is one of those examples where there was more than just in-ring aspects. It's good because to me that kind of started the launch of the Attitude Era. It created Stone Cold into a star. And it was that double heel turn that happened when Stone Cold ended up turning face afterwards because he refused to quit. And Bret Hart turned heel because he continuously attacked Stone Cold after he already beat him. So I enjoyed this chapter. So that's pretty much it, guys. I'm going to end off this video. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. And I'll probably try to do some more of these throughout the day. But that's pretty much it, guys. Talk to you later.